Hey, it's Troy Casey, Certified Health Nut, and today I brought Scott on and I wanted to talk to you guys about black mold. So here's the thing with black mold. There's a few things I want to talk about my history. We're going to talk about Scott's experience with it and then what I did to heal, some of the information that he shared with me. But stay tuned because we're going to share some secret sauce towards the end. So you want to stay tuned to everything. This is going to be comprehensive on mold. And if you want a more professional documentary, then watch Dave Asprey's Moldy. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, it's a great
Scott?
one. I definitely recommend that too, yeah.
So watch that as well. And we're going to talk about our experiences and what we did to heal our body. So I wanted to bring on Scott. Scott's from Arizona. He lives in San Diego now, and he had an apartment and it had the mold in it. He'll share his story specifically. I had a house I moved into just before my daughter was born. My wife had complications with the birth. I think it was directly related to the mold. She thought she had allergies first thing in the beginning, but it was a sunny penthouse apartment, and it was hot in the summertime when we moved into it, and we didn't even think about mold until years later when we were getting upper respiratory infections, etc. So my story is that we moved into that house and then we started having complications. I just thought I was a new parent, being bogged down with fatigue and energy issues. And then eventually we had our house tested because I asked one of the neighbors who was all stuffed up and asked if he had any mold in his house or if he had his house tested for mold. And he told me that the sprinkler system was damaged and he walked into his apartment on multiple occasions with ankle deep water. Mm-hmm. So the mold was in the building completely, and we had it tested. And then the first step was to get out if they weren't going to remediate it. We live in crony capitalism right now, and a lot of landlords, it's a business. And so they end up being slumlords to cut corners. And so anyhow, the landlord ignored it and tried to spray some, bleach on it, and bleach doesn't kill mold. And then we decided that we had to get out. And that was a huge decision to make because I had a family of 4 at the time, and we were a new family with small children. And it was very stressful. We moved 8 times trying to find a stable home environment. And then I started my healing process from there. Scott, why don't you tell them a little bit about your story and your background?
Yeah, sure. So Scott Terrell here. I'm 28 years old from San Diego. And we had a beautiful condominium. My family owned it. It was a lovely place right on the water, which is one of the biggest problems here in California. The marine layer, the moisture, wooden buildings, it's a big recipe for disaster with mold. There's a lot of people hurting from it. But for me, I was 22, 23 years old. Looked healthy, looked good. And then, day by day, I gradually got worse and worse. Mostly nausea. It was nausea waking up, not realizing my apartment was full of black mold. The ceilings all behind the walls. So you couldn't see it. There's no indication that it was anywhere. So mainly started with daily nausea upon waking, turned into more psychological, more cognitive. My vision started to change. Very hard for me to grasp movement if people were in front of me moving their hands or anything like that. Driving became an issue. My memory suffered. I'd make sales calls, one of my first jobs. Who did I just call? I don't remember. Depression, fatigue. I think he mentioned fatigue. That's probably the biggest thing I dealt with was the fatigue every day, just gradually, over about a year and a half, getting worse and worse until the point where I just had to lay down. I felt like I just needed to lay down. I couldn't make breakfast. I couldn't do anything. Didn't want to play soccer, didn't want to surf, didn't want to do anything. Just lay down and honestly die. That's what it felt like. And learning from other people who have dealt with black mold, it can get to the point where you just lay down and that's all you got. That's all you got until you can't get back up. So fatigue was huge.
Brain fog?
Brain fog, I think I'd probably classify it as brain fog, just a daily lens, like a lens over your eyes, your ability to reason, your ability to do what you want to do, to have the energy to do the things in daily life. Every day is hard, but you got to get through it, and you got to cook good food for yourself. You got to work out, and mold zaps it. It takes it all away from you. And it's pretty wild because it's also different amongst different people, like my brother and myself versus my mom and my dad. Me and my mom get sick. My mom gets more sick than I do based on our genetics. My brother, He gets it more like allergies, a little bit respiratory. For me, it stores itself in my body. I have a hard time getting it out. You can test your genetics and find out what enzymes you're low on to actually eradicate, detox the mold. So yeah, really just the biggest things were just losing the ability to have energy in life, whether to do what you need to do or to do the things you like to do, or until it gets to a point where I just had to lay down. I quit my job, not realizing that, my home was what was making me ill. And so quitting my job meant I spent more time at home. And then I was spending all my time at home and all my time at home in my bed. And that's when my mom started, really freaking out. And she came to visit, like, what's wrong with my 23-year-old son? All of his friends are fine, playing soccer, doing what they love to do. And here I was just suffering day in, day out, where I'm a very energetic person. I like to talk. I like to do the things I love. And that was just gone. I was in bed, bedridden. Yep. And luckily, word of mouth got to my family. My mom came and she started to get sick, but she had enough within a week or two to do more investigative work. So she'd look at the corners, she'd look at the roof, maybe it's mold. She had heard about mold. She had heard about some families in Arizona that dealt with mold, some kids that were suicidal at 12 years old for 10 years, ADHD, seizure medicine, finding black mold behind the walls, so it was in her mind. She didn't think it was gonna be it, but I'm glad that she had that knowledge. She found a little tiny shadow in our HVAC closet where the AC unit is, and she saw a little shadow. We called the company, they checked it out. And lo and behold, all of our ceiling, all of our walls covered in black mold. We tested it, we found Stachybotrys, the black mold, spits out trichothecene, which is the mycotoxin. You can test your urine. And so that was the first step. There's a company called Real Time Labs in Dallas, Texas, that you can test your urine. It's important that you go in a sauna or something. If you can't work out, you have no energy to sweat, because the mycotoxins, they're in a gas form. You inhale them, you get them on your skin. And then if you have a problem detoxing, they stay. And you have to accelerate the detox process like a sauna or something, just so when you urine, you actually test highly positive, because if you don't, you won't really test. It doesn't get through your body. That's what's hurting you, So I tested with extremely high levels of trichothecene, which is from Stachybotrys, ochratoxin A, to name a few, as well as aspergillus. Yeah, so that's the actual mold we had as well, along with Stachybotrys. We had aspergillus, penicillium, Stachybotrys. So these are real things. You can look up studies, and if you Google mold, you might not find a lot, but if you Google these mycotoxins, if you Google trichothecene, if you Google ochratoxin A, you'll see plenty and plenty of studies about the human health effects of these mycotoxins. It's out there. Unfortunately, the traditional medical world just chooses not to really address it because they don't really know what to do, and I can go into that a little bit further. Thankfully, I have resources in my family to go to Mayo Clinic in Arizona.
So what happened? Let's take them down the medical model. Hey, I think I have mold in my house. Hey, I think I have, what did the landlord or the building owner say? And then what did the doctor say?
Yeah. So once we found the mold, my family was faced with, can we fix it? Is it realistic to fix it? And we tried to remediate. We were told it was done. And at that time, my mom was living, taking care of me. They were told that everything was clean. We turned our AC unit back on where the mold was. It was a hot summer day. And we learned the hard way that it was not completely gone. And we blasted ourselves with more. My mom got even more sick within days, and that's when we realized we got to get out of here. We got to get out. We got to leave everything behind. That's a tough part. That's a lot of people that I help aren't willing to leave. They're not willing to just get out or leave their stuff behind. That's one of the toughest realities you got to do. That's what I've had to do, and start from scratch. Whether it's a home, your socks, your shoes, everything. I've had to give everything away. And so
that's what my mentor told me, right. Paul Check. And when the master speaks, they don't always give too much advice unless you're paying them or whatever. But he said, one of your best choices is probably to move out. And I took that knowledge from a master and I started wrapping my head around it. And that's what we did. Our first step is that we got out.
That's what you have to do, Troy, and I connected with you on that. It took some time to make that decision. It's really hard. I understand people, it's your homes, it's your things. It's probably the biggest challenge I faced in my entire life. I'm only 28, so I know I got some more coming up, but just to give everything away, I had nothing. I woke up one day and my mom had thrown my 8 pairs of shoes out. I had no shoes. It started from scratch, everything, clothes, everything, belongings. But it was needed, and I'm glad we did it. And so what I did was we actually tried to remediate, and then my parents said, we're we're not going to try and do the lawsuit route, because unfortunately the medical world, the traditional world, will not be on your side. If you want to go to court, and you need some medical doctors to validate that this is a real problem and it's just not a reality. So we learned that as well. And my parents
Doctors don't know how to look for mold.
They don't know how to heal. They don't get taught it. So the reason I say this is because I moved back to Arizona. That's where my parents live. That was like my safe haven, right? So I moved from San Diego to Arizona. Really just had a backpack and started going to doctors. Mayo Clinic in Arizona. I met with the head of toxic chronic illness. I don't remember his name, but I could find out for you guys. But I was lucky to meet with these type of people thanks to my family's resources. And this man looked at me in the eyes and said, "We know mold is real. We don't know what to do about it. So you're gonna have to go to a naturopath or a holistic doctor." That's pretty discouraging the first time you hear that. But at the same time, it directed me to healing. So at that time, it was really tough, painful realization, like, oh man, I'm at the best hospital, and one of the best hospitals in the world, Mayo Clinic, Arizona. And they don't know what to do. They did address it. They said it's real, but they don't know what to do. And then that's when...
They were able to test for it? They found it?
No, they don't test. They didn't test. They didn't do blood work. They don't do anything. They looked at my urine tests that I already had done and said, yeah, this is conclusive. You clearly have these type of toxins in your urine at high levels. So it was more like them telling me, yes, what you're going through is real, but we're not going to be the ones to help you. Mm-hmm. Go elsewhere. And that's a very common thing that I get from people all across. I get phone calls across the entire country. And so that's when my family realized we need to go the word of mouth route. And so my mom had remembered a conversation she had with one of my dad's colleagues' wife. They had a son who was about 13 years old and was struggling for about 11, 12 years since he was a toddler, 1 or 2, with severe depression, no energy, couldn't go to school, couldn't make friends. He was on all types of ADHD, anti-seizure, anti-anxiety. They thought it was diet, they thought it was allergies, and it took them about 12 years to open up his bathroom walls and his bedroom walls and find black mold everywhere, just everywhere. And they are the ones who shared with us, my family, what to do. That's why I'm here today, to share what I did. Hopefully it helps people. That's what I would like to do, is just share what I know, and hopefully it helps some people with this video. I know Troy does the same. So they taught us that there was a clinic in Dallas, Texas called Dr. Charles Johnson. This man has been treating black mold along with many other types of illnesses, chronic disease. Incurable. I mean, I saw some
Chronic
magic
fatigue.
with a lot of different, I saw some really
Limes.
wild Lyme. I even got misdiagnosed as Lyme. I tested a few bands positive. I had a tick pulled off me when I was 7. I think I beat it then. I had some antibodies. People were telling me I had Lyme disease. People were telling me I had all kinds of things. It couldn't be mold. It could not be mold, until I finally got the word of mouth and said, go to Dallas. Go to this place that does some hyperbaric oxygen. So that's the main treatment I did, was hyperbaric oxygen. We can get into that a little bit later or now. But so I flew. I stopped my life, wasn't working, prioritized my health. Flew to Dallas with my mom. She was also sick. We went on this healing journey together. And it was a combination of the oxygen treatment, saunas, radical change to diet. That's where I really learned about food and the power of food. So if you don't do everything, it's not going to work. I had to do a lot of different things. And slowly but surely, I got fully better, stronger than I had ever been after about 4 weeks. So for me, it actually was quite quick. I know people deal with mold. I think you have dealt with mold.
Took me 5 years.
Or longer, right. So I really admire people who did it a different way. So I think what Troy has is equally valuable information. I got very lucky to do what I was able to do. That word of mouth was shared with me when it was, because I think it would have taken me another 5 years as well if I didn't do that. So, I don't know how much you wanted me to go into the actual treatment yet. Or
well, let's cut to the chase as far as treatment, because people need to remedy that. And if people have the capital, the hyperbaric chambers are available. You want medical grade.
Oh, right? Yeah, right. So
if people have capital and they're at the end of their rope, and they want to search it out, and then I'll do a little bit of my DIY, what I did, how I figured it out, and the protocols that now I work with clients with.
Exactly. Yeah, so again, like he said, very lucky to have the capital. I mean, I did put $15,000 on a credit card myself, 5 years ago to help. My family was extremely generous with what they could. So, It's not like I got everything given, but I did have to make some sacrifices. It's expensive. It costs about $250, $300 for the correct hyperbaric oxygen machines. You have to be careful of scams. A session. And I was doing, the protocol I did was every day, 6 days a week, you have 1 day break. 6 days a week, one session in the morning, one session in the afternoon. Each session takes about 3 hours. You're under pressure, which means they take you down as if you're in a submarine. They pressurize the actual chamber. The chamber is a big cylinder, about 6 inches of glass. So you're sitting in this wild chamber. It's unbelievable. It was developed to help scuba divers eradicate nitrogen from their bloodstream when they get the bends. So it's been around for a long, long time. It's been helping a lot of people with traumatic brain injury to get fresh oxygen to the brain as well. So not just mold, but so I was sitting in this chamber, about 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night. I'd make sure at lunch to eat a huge heaping organic salad. The other foods I was eating was like bison, organic bison, grass-fed bison, pasture raised eggs in the morning, lots of berries, organic berries, huge salads for lunch with clean protein, maybe some chicken, things like that.
Super clean food.
Everything clean, everything organic. And the animals I was eating, I made sure that I knew exactly what those animals were eating. I don't mess around with any type of conventional protein. That'll only work backwards.
Because the grains that they feed them store in silos. You're not allowed to sell mycotoxin tainted grains to humans, but it's okay to feed them to animals.
That's right.
And so you feed them to the animals, it makes the animals sick, and then you eat them and it makes you sick.
That's right, 100%. So that was a huge, I'm not here to say just go in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, you'll be fine. There's multiple factors. Diet, I had to get back active, make sure I sweat, and also the sauna was huge. I get a sauna I do it for 30, 45 minutes, maybe everyone's different. I was hydrating like crazy, pure water, made sure the water I was drinking was completely pure.
The solution to pollution is dilution. So getting that water to clean out your tissues.
So that's really it. There's certain
so hyperbaric chambers twice a day. At
certain pressures.
Treatment center, different pressures. So again, you'll be working with a doctor that knows this. Again, if you have the capital.
Right.
And so $300 a pop times 2, that's $600 a day plus whatever hotels.
Yeah, it took me about 4 weeks. Yeah, hotels. This isn't for everybody. But like I said, I didn't have the money for a lot of it, and I said, I gotta get healthy. What do I have? I got a credit card. I don't suggest you do that. I was able to get out of that problem, in the last 5 years. But I'm glad I did that. But yeah, Troy would have more of the expertise on, if you can't do that route, there are other ways to heal. I would say if you can't do this route, and also the route I did, you gotta get out. You gotta say goodbye to the things you love, the house you love. And the reason I'll bring that up is because the person that actually shared this knowledge with the people that shared with me, the young kid and their family, owns a major sports team, billionaire family, one of the most amazing estates in Arizona. Unbelievable home. This person will fly themselves to this clinic in Dallas whenever the mold comes back. She will not give her home away. She will not move. So she has to deal with the consequence of flying, because they'll fix the mold and it will come back. It will keep coming back and she'll keep getting sick. This has happened to her for over 30 years. She knows the feelings, she knows the symptoms, and she flies herself in her private jet to the place that I went. That's not realistic for hardly anybody, maybe 0.001% of us, not myself included. So I do the things that Troy does, preventative measures, very careful about even buildings I go in, even offices I work at. I have to be super careful the type of grains I eat. I still eat grains, but it has to be organic flour. It has to be all kinds of things. Non-enriched. Enriched wheat is terrible for me as well. So I do a lot of the things Troy's will speak on as well. It's a combination of everything, really.
Great. So I will lay out my protocol now, guys. This is the secret sauce. So everything that I practice and preach on this channel here, holistic health. Holistic health is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So the first thing that I did was really assess my home, realize there was a problem, that it might not get remediated, and that the home was making my family sick. So I had to get my balls intact and move my family out. Then from there, I started to realize, what were my health challenges? I had brain fog. I was depressed. I'm not a depressive person. I had all sorts of brain issues, mind issues. I was working on the computer, I was building my career, I was building Certified Health Nut, and I was completely fatigued to the point where I would have to sleep for 5 days in a row. Basic things, get the children off to school, and then I would lay down all day, maybe go pick them up. I was having more fights with my wife as well because we were all stressed out at the cellular level, and then we were throwing that upon each other and blaming each other for what was happening. And so it really divided us. You would think it would bring us together, but so it caused all sorts of marital problems as well. And I didn't know, fully what was happening. So from there, I realized that the body heals itself automatically, autogenesis. The body will heal itself if it has the proper rest and it has the proper environment and the proper nutrients. So I fine-tuned my diet. I already had a really good diet. So I made sure that I pulled out all the inflammatory agents, gluten and pasteurized dairy free, no soy, no corn, as much as possible, minimal sugar. The Antifungal Diet is grass-fed pasture-raised meats, pasture-raised eggs. The chickens eat bugs and grasses, and the grass-fed ruminants only eat grass, 100% grass-fed. And minimal grains, a little bit of white rice, which is the most non-inflammatory, lots of mineral-rich foods, seaweeds, superfoods, herbs. The top 4 herbs, antifungal herbs out there, Dr. Mercola featured another family that moved into a house after the Hurricane Katrina, and the government said, hey, your house is ready and it's fine and everything's fine. And the whole family got sick and they had to figure it out. And their 4 magic bullets, as if a magic bullet ever existed, which it doesn't. That's programming from the pharmaceutical companies trying to sell you a drug. But the fact of the matter is if there is 4 magic herbal pills, that would be ginger, garlic, cayenne, and golden seal. Golden seal is medicinal and it needs to be rotated all the time. You can only go on it for 10 to 14 days. So those help. Ginger is a really good mainstay of me. I do rotation on garlic as well. Garlic's very medicinal. Making sure that my sleep has been optimized, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Lots of research on circadian health, circadian hygiene. And so taking off the electronics. I learned from Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt to turn off your Wi-Fi when you're not using it. Keep my phone away from me because the ambient Wi-Fi in his laboratory would allow the bacteria to grow 600%. And when they put a Faraday cage over that, the bacteria didn't proliferate. So turning off your Wi-Fi and your electricity. I hit all my breakers at night. The first time I tried it, I was in that penthouse and it felt like I was sleeping in the woods.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never done that. I'm gonna go do that tonight. Turn off my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, because there's dirty electricity in the house as well, and of course the Wi-Fi. So managing and mitigating stress as much as possible. There's at least 7 factors of stress. There's chemical stress. There's electromagnetic radiation and pollution. There is thermal stress, too hot or too cold. Physical stress, psychic stress, chemical stress, and I also like to say digital stress because going from one interface to the other on our digital communications psychologically wears us down. So it ends up being another stress. So managing and mitigating your stress, assessing your stress, working with a professional to pinpoint your stressors, and really getting a hold on that. Fine-tuning your diet, optimizing your hydration as well, half your body weight in ounces of water a day. Sleep, again, is optimal. I cannot, sleep is really what helped me heal while I was completely sick as well. It's the only thing that really made me feel better. And then I started to do more research and pull out the big guns. The antifungal diet, again, is organic vegetables and grass-fed, high-quality pasture-raised eggs and proteins. My body runs optimally on a lot of animal fats, and so it helped me get clear. That helped me clear up my brain as well. And then I also use fasting. And I found dry fasting. Dry fasting is the penultimate. It chokes off all the microbes And so that's no water. And I recommend, I'm not advising anyone to do this. I'm not trying to treat, mitigate, or cure any kind of disease. What I'm here to do is tell you my experience and what I've experienced myself. And so the dry fasting, the microbes, they thrive on moisture and oxygen. And when you cut that moisture off, they dry up, they desiccate, and they're gone. They're toast. You can feel within 24 hours of a dry fast, you can feel all the inflammation go out of your face. You go into a keto state within about 18 hours, and you also go into autophagy, where the body starts eating all the dead cells and viruses and bacteria. So dry fasting is definitely a secret weapon. Research that, test it out, work with a professional if that sounds like a viable concern for you. One of my friends worked with hydrogen peroxide with AIDS patients in the 90s in Beverly Hills, and I consulted with him, and he recommended I start researching that. And the protocol he had me go on was 3 drops of 35% hydrogen peroxide. And I started doing that twice a day and ramped up to 10 drops twice a day. And I noticed that was also very drying. And I think that was kind of the cherry on the banana split. My holistic lifestyle for the last 5 years built up my energy field, practicing Qigong and Tai Chi. You can watch my videos on that. That helped re-energize myself. Medical Qigong is a reality. It's a real thing. Look at it, investigate it, research it, practice it is ultimately where you're going to get the results. You're going to have to test stuff and see what works for you.
I have, before we end this, there are some points I'd like to make if people do go the hyperbaric route. There's things to note. It's a wild journey. It gets worse before better. And so if you go the hyperbaric route, which does accelerate the treatment, it gets far worse before better. And what I mean by that is the first week of 2 sessions a day and about 6 hours or so in the chamber, about 3 hours actually pressurized with oxygen being flooded through the chamber. The first week, so the first 6 days, you might feel a little bit of progress actually. Your vision might clear up a little bit. You might actually get a little bit of hope. But then it was a consensus. I mean, the clinic I went to has helped thousands of people. They say, prepare yourself for week 2 or week 3, whenever it happens, because it got far, far worse before better. The hercs, oh my goodness. As you can tell, I like to talk. I like to, be around people. And I was with my mother. And once it turned from that good week to the second week, it was a nightmare. It's very hard to describe what actually was hurting me. I didn't say one word to anybody, not my mom, not the doctors. No, I had no words. I had nothing to say. It almost was like just total inflammation, or I don't know what it was. It was a blur. I don't even remember the week. I would go in these chambers. I would sleep all day, and then I wasn't in the chamber. Sleep all night. Go in these chambers, completely numb to the outside world and just in pain. Weird pain, and I have a hard time communicating it. And then after that second week, that third week turned into just beautiful progress. My vision just completely turned into bright, vibrant, what I had missed, for years. It had been a long time since I felt normal. I just hadn't felt normal for multiple years. I want people to know, do not be surprised if it gets worse before better. And then really, really be careful with where you go. I got scammed 2 different places. We did not know that you can't get in a inflatable hyperbaric. Those are scratching the surface. That's a waste of money. If you're going to do hyperbaric, spend the money on the proper medical grade that you find in the hospitals. Insurance does not cover it. Don't go to a hospital because it'll be even more expensive than $300 a session. Mold is not one of the treatments that they allow for hyperbaric, so you're gonna have to go to a special clinic that has these. Each machine costs about $50,000. Actually, it might be $250,000. I don't remember. Look up brands like Sechrist, Sechrist, Sechrist. Google that. Look at that chamber and make sure you're getting in one of those. I got scammed by inflatable ones. I got scammed by in a huge chamber that was that you could fit 10 people in. That one is completely waste of money as well. But we got scammed in those because we didn't want to go fly to Dallas. We wanted to be in Arizona where we had a home, where it was comfortable. And then we realized from our connections, from the people that told us what we actually need to do, that you got to get up and go. So that's kind of the last 2 points I want to make before we end this, Troy.
Everybody will take your money, guys. So back down to the holistic program. I'll just leave it on this. Couple secret sauces you can research, guys. I recommend researching borax. And also it's known antifungal. Couple of home remedies that have been around before hospitals, before stores. So you got apple cider vinegar, and you've got baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, and borax. Those are home remedies. You can make home cleaning products out of them. And so these are just known remedies. And so we're not trying to solve all the world's problems in this video. This is an informational video. I'm giving you avenues to continue your research. And of course, you can contact the clinic that he worked with. They're all licensed to do this work as well. I guarantee it's not going to be cheap. And so I had to figure it out on my own, utilizing my intuition, my holistic knowledge. So again, hydration, nutrition, sleep, movement, thoughts, breathing, all those things were on point. Breath work is a critical element that I want to share because in breath work, hydrogen peroxide and hyperbaric chambers are all oxygen. And pathogens can't live in an oxygen-rich environment. But how can we get more of that oxygen into our body? So breath work was also instrumental in healing myself, healing my brain. And I had brain fog so bad and I was so depressed. And I was, a personality on the internet, and I'm talking to people, and my wife was, like, make more money and, do this and do that. And I was just like, I don't even fucking know who I am anymore.
Yeah. I know what he felt.
It was fucking real, man. And
it's a trip.
And this was before we even got the place assessed. And then as soon as we got assessed, it was like, aha, okay,
exactly.
I could put my finger on it. So it took me 5 years to heal my body. Definitely all the holistic health protocols that I share on this. But I would say really my secret sauce was breath work. The hydrogen peroxide definitely helped me incredibly. I was already about 85% healed before I started that protocol. Another thing that helped me with fungal overload is I researched turpentine. Jennifer Daniels has got a whole page on that as well. Healing and sealing the gut, so a lot of bone broth, aloe vera. I like fresh squeezed pre-digested juice. Bone broth is pre-digested. Anything that's pre-digested and nutrient dense is going to help your metabolism, and our metabolism is what takes the majority of our energy. And so you want to be ingesting foods that aren't going to bog the system down. So pre-digested vegetable juices, fresh squeezed vegetable juices, and bone broth and aloe vera, hydrogen peroxide, borax, garlic, golden seal, ginger, lots of prayer. I did a gratitude journal to really come back to what was important in my life. And so my kids are out. They had some staph infections all over their faces that wouldn't go away. They'd get these little nicks, and they would fester into these little infections. And so we're still working on that. I think their immune system is now so strong because they've had to fight their way through that. But I will keep an eye on my son. He's more mellow than me, and he's not a depressed person, but I want to check in with everybody's psychology, because what you're saying is very important, and every individual is very different. Right. So that's about it, guys. I hope we covered, everything. Yeah. Oxygen is what helps to annihilate the fungus the most. And an antifungal diet, again, is high quality meat and veggies, everything organic.
And get the fuck out of there. Get out. Just get out.
Get out.
Get out. You gotta. Or fix it, but fixing it proved for my family not to work. So take it from me, or try to fix it. The mold came back. It came back. So we had to get out.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Troy.
Scott. Yeah, thanks for sharing your love with everyone out in cyberspace. And if you guys have any more questions, drop a comment in the box. That comment will help other people. Drop a comment, where you're tuning in from, if you've suffered from this problem before, and let's all help each other.
That's right. Thanks, Troy.
Yeah. Much love, everybody.